mics are hot. All right. It looks like I forgot to mute this monitor again. Let me hit the mute on the monitor. I wonder why I didn't hear the audio when the promo was playing. That's usually the giveaway. Anyway, this is WQIR 514, Atlanta 946. My name is Justin, and, well, actually, I've got the wrong script up here, so let me just move over here and say, hey, good evening, and welcome to the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net. Tonight we are live from Studio Vanguard. We are linked in with the following repeaters.
Tonight we are on Columbus, Flagship. Put up the map. I got the map up if you're watching the YouTube stream so you can see the repeaters as I talk through them. Flagship, Buckhead, Dallas, Lula, Watkinsville, Jersey, McDonough, Noonan, Toccoa, Rome, Peachtree, Zebulon, Ocala, Lookout Mountain, White Oak Mountain, our Zello link, Fort Mountain, Ottawa, Chattanooga, Georgetown, Cades Cove, and Mount Roosevelt.
Okay, where was I? Tonight, we already said the RF coverage. No, we didn't. Our RF coverage encompasses approximately 41,000 square miles. This net takes place every Thursday evening at 7:30 p.m. I'd like to thank everyone who has made the North Georgia GMRS the most expansive and active GMRS network in the country. Your net control tonight is Atlanta 946, WQIR 514. My name is Justin.
And this is WSAL 368, Atlanta 263. My name is Rogers.
And this is WRUB 711, Atlanta 519. My name is Gary.
On the net, you can talk about your day's activities, radio equipment, or anything you think we'd like to hear about. This is a family-based network, so we encourage you to get your family involved. Guest check-ins are welcome from anyone with a valid FCC call sign. Once the floor is open, it is permissible to address other members of the net by name or tactical unit number. Your FCC call sign is only required when you sign in and sign out of the net. Also, you can tune in to our YouTube channel and follow along, or even better, tune in after the net to watch your appearance on the network. You can hear how you sound to us right here in Studio Vanguard. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment so that we know that you're watching. These interactions mean the most to help our channel grow. Also, if for any reason the repeater that you're monitoring might drop out, YouTube is a great alternative to be able to continue to monitor the net as things go on. So if your repeater does drop out, we'll try to get it back as soon as it can, but we do have some issues that we may need to address along the way. Tonight's topic is family involvement in GMRS radio. So we've got, there's a fantastic episode of Julie's Tips that we're not going to get tonight. Julie is in Indiana, so we're going to miss that. But I'll see if I can bring some excerpts from that to the program tonight. But before we do that, I'm going to break, and then we'll go to announcements. All right, so it says this is BR63 Mike with this week's news and announcements. I don't know that that's correct. I think we don't have a mic to mic check, so we'll have to figure that out later. But in any case, upcoming gatherings to talk about are right around the corner. So pay attention, write these down. These meetups are a great way to meet fellow members in and around your area. The Peachtree Corners Brunch Bunch. Did I miss something? The Peachtree Corners Brunch Bunch is meeting at JR's Log House. That's Log House Restaurant in Peachtree Corners. That's 6601 Peachtree Industrial Boulevard and Peachtree Corners Circle next to the bridge on top of the hill. Come on out of the heat and be cool while enjoying intriguing conversations with new radio friends. This week, this one is why am I having so much difficulty reading? 1 week from this Saturday, which will be the 19th. Actually, that's
this weekend.
That's this weekend. Somebody didn't edit this script very well. That would be me. Okay, so Saturday on the 19th, from noon to around 2 or 2:30, please RSVP to skygazerpamela849@gmail.com, or you can call out on a radio to Atlanta 848-ERNEST or Atlanta 849-PAMELA for brunch RSVPs. So either way, send an email. I'm sure Pamela will dig getting an email from you. Or if you can catch them on the air, that would be another great way to RSVP. That's this Saturday at the JR's Log House Restaurant in Peachtree Corners. So go hang out and have some lunch and visit with some great radio people. I think you'll have a good time. The Northeast Bunch will be having their lunch meetup on Wednesday, April 30th at 11 a.m. It'll be at the usual place. They're seldom ever at the unusual place. They're almost always at the usual place. Rooster's Cafe in Dahlonega. I'm not sure where the unusual place is. Do you know?
No, but it would be unusual to have it there.
It would be. We'll be at the, I'm sorry, I just read that. All current and future North Georgia GMRS members are always welcome. For more, what about past members?
As long as you have a good heart,
and
positive attitude.
I think,
why not?
But I mean, if I'm a former member, am I not allowed to go, or you think I can slide by?
If people like you, I guess, yeah.
That's the key. I guess if you're a jerk, that
not
might,
welcome anywhere.
Yeah. All right. So try to be nice. For more information, contact Atlanta 403 Bobby or Atlanta 256 Chuck if Holly will let him talk on the phone. The Kennesaw Gathering will meet for lunch on Tuesday, May 13th. Man, May is right around the corner.
This year is flying by.
It sure is. At noon at the Old Town Tavern and Grill, 2500 Cobb Parkway Northwest, around the block from McCollum Airport. Join us for the Meet and Geek. Did they not do the Meet and Geek last time?
Yeah, maybe it's a continuation.
I think so. So it says the first ever, but I think it's the second and ongoing Meet and Geek. And so what the Meet and Geek is an opportunity for you to bring a radio and have your code plug updated. Ed will have some equipment. Excuse me, let me break. Ed will have some equipment to program many radios. And if you'd like to bring a radio for programming, let him know with an email what radio you're going to bring. Excuse me again. Oh, wow. This is not an easy job. So, where's Mike at? I guess I know why he coughs all the time. But bring your radio and let Ed know what radio you're bringing so he can be sure he has the right software and the right programming cable. Send that email to Ed at wrqg806@gmail.com. And if you don't want to have your radio programmed, you just want to come and hang out with some great people and have lunch, you can do that too. Also send Ed that email just so that he knows how many seats to have reserved for the group. And once again, May 13th at the Old Town Tavern and Grill. Let me break. Tough time getting through this tonight. So send Ed that email and go have lunch and get your radios programmed. I probably should take all my radios up there and have Ed just update them because I just haven't had time to deal with it.
Yeah,
I need to get Buckhead in.
Yeah, get the new Buckhead
Yeah.
in there. I'm
I'm
put it
down
up
there.
anyway. So
Yeah, I'm down there frequently enough. So that's the lunch gatherings that we have. We have a series of weekly nets, and I'm going to abbreviate this somewhat and just go through. This Sunday, April 13th, will be the next episode of The Rabbit Hole. We've already done the April 13th, so when is the next Rabbit Hole? That's going to be, the first weekend in May?
yeah, I think it's
That's going to be the weekend of the cookout, I believe.
if it gets pushed back.
Yeah. So, all right. So the rabbit hole's coming up. We don't know what the topic is or when it is, but it's in the rotation. So, eventually there'll be a Sunday with a rabbit hole. The Ladies Roundtable, this is correct. It meets on the first Monday of the month. So we're showing April 7th. I don't know what the first Monday in May is going to be, but the roundtable is kind of a cool format. All right. So it's a great opportunity to just jump into the conversation at whatever point you want. And if you don't know what a roundtable is, there's been roundtable conversations on the air frequently in the evenings. Dana has held several of them, but it's a real casual way to engage radio people. You just comment your way into the conversation. Whoever's hosting the roundtable will establish where you're at in the rotation, and then you just rotate the conversation from however many people are in that group, and you pay attention to who talks before you, and you pay attention to who to hand it off to after you, and it's fun, and lots of people can engage, and lots of people can get involved in whatever that topic might be. So roundtables are cool. The Ladies Net will be transitioning to a roundtable form. I think they already have, and that works out pretty well. Tuesdays on the northern region of the network feature the Skywarn Net. This is a training net for Skywarn weather spotters in coordination with the National Weather Service, and is available only on the Chattanooga area of the North Georgia GMRS Network. The reason for that is they have some unique weather situations, and they use GMRS to kind of enhance the coverage in the area in cooperation with the typical amateur radio operator, Skywarn operators. So it's an enhancement to an existing service. The reason we don't do Skywarn in the rest of our network is because it's a big area, and so the weather that's happening in Woodstock can be very different than the weather that's happening in Dunwoody, and very different than the weather that's happening in Noonan or in Marietta or in Dahlonega. So it's too big of a network, really, to try to do Skywarn here. And in Georgia, we have a fantastic amateur radio organized Skywarn network already in play, and I would hate to do anything in GMRS that would diminish what they do in the amateur radio side. So if you're interested in Skywarn and you live in Georgia, I would encourage you to reach out to your local amateur radio club and see what they're doing. And you could also just reach out to, anytime there's severe weather, you'll hear these nets activate, and you can tune in. Even if you don't have an amateur license, you can listen on amateur frequencies, and you can get a lot of information about weather that's going on in your area. One thing that I think is really cool about Skywarn is you can listen to their nets, and you can hear events as they unfold from eyewitnesses. And if you've got the TV on in the background, sometimes you'll hear the same story reported on the TV 5 to 10 minutes later. So on the TV, they're monitoring the same information, but before they can go on the air with it, they have to corroborate it from another source. So that takes time. Whereas if you're hearing it from the eyewitness that's on the scene and reporting what he sees with his own eyes, not what he's heard reported on the TV, you can get the information much more accurately, much more in real time. So that's a very cool thing. I definitely encourage anybody that's interested in Skywarn to listen in on the Skywarn weather nets. And anytime we have severe weather in the area, that's a great resource to make sure that you can stay safe. Wednesdays feature a short ERC net at 8 p.m. on the North Georgia GMRS Network. This is a roll call net and is closed. That means it's not open to North Georgia GMRS members. If you are a North Georgia GMRS member, this net is not for you. If you have an ERC TAC number, this net is for you. So ERC members are welcome to participate in the ERC net. North Georgia GMRS members are not. So I think that's a pretty easy distinction. So just bear that in mind. There's a reason, and I'd like for people to understand that. The other thing I've noticed, and I don't know if it's something that's really related to the ERC net or if just some of those folks are, but there's a lot of ham lingo that's being used. A I think I heard them start the net the other night with CQ, CQ. CQ is not something you do on a repeater. A CQ is an amateur radio term, and it is related to seeking distant contacts. And repeater contacts are not distant contacts. That's kind of like SWRs. It's a term, but it doesn't really fit, and it doesn't really belong in a repeater group, whether it's amateur repeaters or GMRS repeaters, but certainly not in a GMRS area. And the other thing I've been hearing lately is radio reports saying 5 by 9. I don't know of any FM transceiver that has an S meter on it. Does yours?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. So an S meter is a meter that kind of gives you a scale of radio signal quality. So you have radio signal strength, but the S meter is kind of a signal to noise ratio, and those values can often help define what your radio quality is, and it can be a really useful tool when you're communicating in HF radio as an amateur. The S value gives you a really good gauge of what the quality of your signal sounds like on the other end. And you'll hear signal reports often given as 5 by 9, particularly in contesting. Let me break. In amateur radio contesting, it's customary to give your call sign, and from the call sign, the other person can kind of figure out your general location because they're going to look that up. They kind of have to as a part of the contesting. But it's customary to also give a signal report. And because in contesting we're in a hurry, we want to make that contact and get on to the very next contact as quickly as we can because conditions can change so rapidly. So we want to spend as little time as we can to make an official contact with every person that we're talking to. So it's customary to give a 5 by 9 signal report, even if you can just barely make them out through the static and hiss and the noise. So as such, a 5 by 9 signal report kind of means, yeah, I could hear you, and that's it. It doesn't really define what your signal quality is because it's used so generically in the amateur radio field. But more importantly, our radios don't have S meters on them, so 5 by 9 doesn't really mean anything. Your radio signal quality is defined by how well you receive the repeater. And that signal strength isn't something that's relevant to the person you're talking to. If they're not hitting the repeater well and they're full of noise, that's not because you're not receiving them well. If you can receive them at all, it's because you hear that repeater. It's because they're not getting into the repeater very well. And there's no way for your radio to measure that because your radio is seeing the signal from the repeater. And if you're talking to someone loud and clear and somebody else comes in and they're barely readable, that's not really a function of your radio. That's a function of the receive at the repeater and that person's location. So signal reports in GMRS are a little bit hard because you can't really tell somebody what their signal quality is to you. You can only report what you're hearing from the repeater. And 5 by 9 is not an accurate. That's a lot like SWRs. It's just not indicative that you know what you're talking about. So I would appreciate it if we would stop using the ham radio lingo on North Georgia GMRS. That is an expectation of all users that we use plain language. In fact, recently we had a net specifically about plain language communications. That's what GMRS is for. That's what we're all about here. And that's part of the mission to maintain a family-friendly atmosphere. We start throwing a lot of lingo and terminology around, and it intimidates people and makes them not want to participate. So if you're interested in using ham radio lingo, become an amateur and have at it. But on the North Georgia GMRS Network, please don't. I'm asking that all North Georgia GMRS members refrain from using CB language and lingo and amateur radio language on the North Georgia GMRS Network.
One that I hear a lot is DFQ. Does that count as like more on the amateur side, or is that kind of in general?
So what is DFQ?
Dead full quieting.
Why not just say that?
Yeah.
And what does dead full quieting mean? So
it means you can no background noise maybe, or no
and
scratching.
that's what we need. That's what we need to say. We need to communicate to people what's actually happening, because when we use that terminology, you and I might know what those terms mean, but we have a lot of people out there that are brand new to radio. I mean, every week in the North Georgia GMRS Facebook group, I see people, they're scared to ask a question because they're going to get pounced on. We're pretty good about not doing that in North Georgia GMRS on the Facebook page. We need to be good about that here on the radio too, so that when people come to this group, they hear plain, simple communications, and it's not intimidating, and it's welcoming to people that are new and don't know, because that's really what this environment should be. This should be a beginner level, friendly, open environment for people to feel like they can come on and just have a conversation, because that's what plain language is, and that's what we want people to use on the North Georgia GMRS Network. And the reason for that is simply to be more inclusive and more inviting to people that might otherwise be intimidated by radio. So when we use these terms, we are kind of establishing a barrier of entry for some people, and that's the big reason why I'd like for people to avoid doing that. All right, let me break. Okay, I was reading about the various nets that we have every week. There's this one that happens on Thursdays, but don't waste your time with that one. I mean, just keep running. That guy just rants about stupid stuff all the time.
But you can learn a lot on Thursdays as well.
Well, you might. You'll probably just hear that guy rant. So just move right along. Tomorrow night there will be an interesting Simplex challenge. So Simplex is when you talk without a repeater. You talk from your radio to someone else's radio. There's no repeater involved. Why do we care about Simplex?
Well, we care about Simplex because you get to learn your radio's reach. You get to learn who your radio buddies are, if anyone's close to you. And that could be helpful in a time of need or storm or anything.
Well, absolutely. And, we talked about, signal strength a little bit ago off of a repeater. Well, now, if we're talking about Simplex, now that's relevant, because now the signal that you hear actually is from the other person's radio, and the repeater's not involved. So having those signal evaluations, qualifications, descriptions can be even more meaningful. So, for example, if you're out on Friday night and you're trying to make a contact and you can just barely hear whoever is out there, you just barely can hear them, but they can hear you just fine. Well, that tells you that you're transmitting A-OK, but you're not receiving very well. And so that can give you some clues as to what you might need to do to be able to improve your signal and what you can do to hear them better. So maybe you need to get to higher ground. Maybe you need to improve your antenna system. Maybe you need a better quality radio. Some of these inexpensive radios are alligators. They talk really well, but the receiver isn't very good, and they don't hear that clearly. So it's a get what you pay for kind of a situation, and cheap radios offer cheap results. Sometimes that's good enough, and we can get by with that. And it's certainly a great place to start. But if you're having a challenge with making Simplex contacts, that's a great place to start, is by looking at improving your radio.
Well, and that's why I love Simplex, because then you get to find out how good your radio really is, or how good your setup really is. And, like you said, you may need to step it up and get a better radio. So that's why I love Friday nights. Because,
or if you're on Mount Olympus, you can sit in your easy chair with an HT and make 81-mile contacts.
Well, that's true. So they can do that all day, every day.
So location matters, and particularly in Simplex. But I would encourage everyone to participate in the Simplex Challenge, mostly because that's where you're really going to learn the most about how radio works and how radio doesn't work. We get spoiled by these repeaters, and sometimes that can be to our detriment. Let me break. So we have taken a little sabbatical with our Saturday once monthly KidsNet, but I think that'll come back once we get past the itty bitty baby stage and maybe get into some toddler action. But the demands of raising children is a real thing, and it's more than John and Victoria have the ability to manage right now. So we've kind of taken a little sabbatical on the KidsNet, but I expect it's going to come back. So stick around for that, and hopefully when it comes back, it'll come back with some great participation. Oh, Dana wants me to talk about the 2-meter challenge. I'm going to save that, Dana, for you to talk about when we come to you here in just a little bit. And Bobby says SWRs are singular. Do we have any comments in the YouTube chat?
The producer's over here working on it. He's logging the check-ins, but we don't have any conversations yet.
Okay, that's good to know. Folks that are monitoring on YouTube, if you've got any input, we definitely will do our best to bring it to the air. And so if you want to contribute to the conversation, please make mention in the chat. And Gary's over there. I'd kind of forgotten about the obligation to log our YouTube participants, so I'm glad that Gary took that on. Our regular log maestro is not with us tonight. He's got other obligations, and I'm just going through the motions here. So,
and we miss him very much. I'm just gonna say.
So I've got one more thing to talk about in our announcements tonight, but instead of me talking about it, I'm going to go to Gainesville 285 and see if Charlie Victor 2 times has anything that he'd like to share about this coming event. All right, CV must have fallen asleep, and he missed his cue. I guess that means you got to hear it from me. So, June, when?
June.
When is it? It's April. April 26th. There it is. It's right there in front of me. April 26th is the date to put on your calendar for the North Georgia GMRS Smith Family Picnic. Burgers, hot dogs, and all of the appropriate fixings. There will be no inappropriate fixings at this picnic. CV just won't allow it. So appropriate fixings for the hot dogs and hamburgers, sides, chips, things of that nature. I imagine there will be cookies and other desserts. Plan to eat at noon. We'll be opening up at the Flagship repeater site for this event at 11 a.m. People that are there to work the event will be there a little bit earlier or a lot earlier. In any case, 11 a.m. for most of us, and there will be people there to kind of direct parking. So we have a parking area that is just the other side of the firehouse from where the Flagship site is, and CV has arranged for small vehicles, to move back and forth from the parking area to the actual Flagship site. So there will be a minimal amount of walking. You can walk if you want to. It's kind of a neat little trail through the woods, and it's a heavily wooded area. I imagine we'll be making quite a lot of noise. It's unlikely we'll see any wildlife, but we have seen wildlife there in the past. And the cameras on site have picked up some very interesting wildlife at Flagship.
Are there any wildlife that weigh hundreds of pounds?
Oh, there are, and in fact, on a work day, while we were there doing some tower work, mama bear and a couple of cubs came by to pay us a visit. It was a very nervous moment for many of us, watching that bear with her cubs. You know, seeing a bear is one thing, but But a mama bear with cubs,
Watch out.
that's dangerous.
Yeah.
So that was it was fascinating to see, and I'm glad that it happened. I hope it never happens again. Seeing that kind of thing on camera is good enough for me. I don't need to be that close.
Because mamas there are usually very protective.
There were no incidents, and
Right.
nothing came of it. But you just live wild animals, you just don't know what to expect. So anything can happen. Let me break. So the picnic this year is going to be at Flagship. It's a unique opportunity for us to show off the Flagship site. We're excited for our members to be able to come and tour the facility, see what an actual repeater site looks like. Flagship is our flagship site. It represents the latest in technology. It is the most advanced GMRS repeater site that I'm aware of. It sports a lot of really cool equipment and some features that you just aren't going to find at many repeater sites. We use Starlink satellite there. We have an APRS digipeater there. We have it's not a triplexer. It's a multiplexer. And what it does is it allows multiple repeaters to operate on the same two antennas. So Flagship has its own transmit and receive antenna on that tower. They're separate antennas. Most repeaters will use a duplexer to be able to transmit and receive on the same antenna. So the duplexer acts like a filter, all right? So when you transmit, it filters out or it blocks that transmit energy from going to the receive side of your radio. And at the same time, it filters and blocks that receive energy on the transmit side. So it makes sure that the receiver part of your radio can hear, while the transmitter part of the radio can operate without interfering with that receive. So a lot of times when you have two different radios operating in proximity to one another, you'll have a desense where because the one is transmitting, it will make the other radio not hear very well. Have you ever experienced that? When you key up on your radio, somebody 10 feet away from you can't hear you, but somebody miles away can.
Right.
That's what that desense function is. So the duplexer controls that and handles that so that we don't have any desense during the repeater operation. All that stuff is there. Gary will be able to explain it to you much better than I can. Fascinating equipment. There's at least 6 radios at Flagship. Repeaters. There's 2, 3. Yeah, I think 6.
Because we have what? Monument is there?
Monument is there. There are 2 private repeaters there, and there are 2 amateur radio repeaters there. And GMRS, we have Flagship and Monument, both on that same tower. Plus the digipeater. We have a weather station up there. We have Starlink up there. Lots of cool stuff. So we're excited at the opportunity to show. There will be some porta potties there if you need to use that, and a washing station. There will be no seating unless you bring it. So bring a lawn chair, bring some bug screen, bug spray, bring some sunscreen, and bring an umbrella or a canopy or an easy up or whatever it is that you have if you'd like to be able to enjoy the shade. Gary hopes to be able to make some presentations. There's lots of things he'd like to talk about. I don't know what they are. A couple of things I'd like to talk about. I don't think they'll let me. But we'll have that. I think there's going to be some live music as well.
Oh, okay.
So
any of our members or just...
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know exactly who, and I don't know what they plan to play. I don't know what instruments are involved. I'm going to bring some speakers and some microphones, and hopefully we have enough. I don't know.
I've got an old saxophone. I haven't played it in like 20 years, though.
We should break it out. Definitely.
I don't think anyone will be interested in hearing me break it out, though.
I would encourage you to bring your instrument and see if you can find a place to join in.
So it's going to be festival seating and open mic. So just bring your instrument and join the band, Rogers.
That sounds like fun, though.
Yeah. So definitely don't forget the lawn chair. That's I'd like to emphasize that immensely. If you don't bring a place to sit, you won't have a place to sit. Of course, you could sit on the grass. Yeah. And if you're younger than I am, that's not a bad option. If I'm down on the grass, I'm probably going to be there a while. It's going to take 2 or 3 people to get me back up. But
yeah, me too.
Yeah. So my days of sitting on the grass have been mowed over. All right. I think that's all that we have. Oh, yeah, one more thing. If you're going to the picnic, you do need to RSVP. And when you RSVP, please send the names and TAC numbers, if they have them, of everyone in your party. So if it's you and your spouse, send both names, first names and last names, please, for the name tags. And if you're bringing friends or family, please include all the names that you intend to bring, so that name tags can be presented. We're gonna all have a "Hello, my name is" sticker to put on, so that when we're walking around, it's easier for people to identify who's who. Now, I know Bobby has one of those LED hat pins that's got his call sign and his name that scrolls across, and that's cool and everything. But I think that for the day, that "Hello, my name is" sticker is really what we need, and that'll be a great way for us to be able to identify one another and be able to easily spot who our radio friends are. Put your TAC number on there if you have one, but we'll have those name tags pre-printed for you upon your arrival if you RSVP, and we hope to have all of that we can. So also we need a count. We want to be able to prepare the right amount of food so that we don't have a lot of waste, and we also want to be sure that we don't run short.
And I have the email in case they want to RSVP.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah. So send if you want to RSVP for the cookout, send an email to NGGMRS Events.
Oh, we got a break. Come back with that email for the cookout.
Yeah. So the RSVP is NGGMRS Events @gmail.com. Once again, that's NGGMRS Events @gmail.com.
All right. Well, I think that will do it for the announcements portion of what's going on tonight. If I missed anything, it's entirely my fault. I would blame it on the editor, but since that's me, I'm sorry.
Well, as people say, blame it on your head and not your heart.
Okay, we'll go with that. Yeah. So those are the announcements. If you have announcements for us to make, send an email to justin@nggmrs.org. I will try to do better about editing the announcements and having them ready. I was really hoping to pawn that whole task off on Blue Ridge, but that just didn't work out for me. So, and today was this week's been a crazy week. So, next week promises to be also crazy. One more thing about the picnic. The extended forecast is dicey. Is that a good word?
That's appropriate.
So we do have some contingency dates. If we do get rained out for April 26th, our first contingency date is going to be May 3rd. And if that doesn't look promising, then we're going to shoot for May 10. So just be flexible. Be aware that our date may get pushed. If the weather is, we're up on that mountain, and so whatever the weather is on the rest of the area gets amplified up there. The wind is different, the temperatures are different, and we don't want to be a bunch of little miniature lightning masts underneath that tower. So if the weather becomes an issue, we will definitely push off to another day. So pay attention and look for an announcement related to that. Right now, we're still planning on the 26th. Okay. I think it's time to start taking some more check-ins. Do we need to close that door and turn your AC on?
No, at least close it. I think that was a mosquito.
All right.
WSSD 593, Dallas 88, checking in, checking out.
Dallas 88, checking in, checking out. I'm not even up my log yet. Dallas 83.
WROB 245, Atlanta 849, Pamela in Duluth, and by relay, Atlanta 848, Ernest in Duluth is in and out.
All right, who did we just have?
Pamela.
Atlanta 848.
Yeah, 848.
This is WQYV 982, Noonan 119, Jim in Noonan, Georgia.
Noonan 119.
This is Atlanta 350, WSHG 331, Ted in Tucker checking in and out.
Atlanta 350. No, that's not it. It was okay.
WS50 593, Dallas 88, Jerry from Dallas, Georgia, checking in, checking out.
That's a monster mosquito. Yeah. He's gonna have fun with us if he lands. I thought I threw him out though.
I think we're going to need some cooling.
And there's a big mosquito in here, so be aware.
All right. Let me go ahead and acknowledge what we have here. Lots of things going on and trying to juggle it all here. But we had there was one check-in I think we got. Was that Noonan 119 that came in? We may have missed one, but we did hear Atlanta 848, Ernest, and Atlanta 849, Pamela, both checking in. Well, Pamela relayed for Ernest. I'm going to show Ernest as in and out, and Pamela as in. Heard, I believe it was Noonan 119, Jim in Noonan. Atlanta 350, Ted in Tucker. I think Ted said he was. Did Ted say he was in and out? Let's just leave him in for now.
Yeah.
And Dallas 88, Jerry in Dallas. We were playing catch up that whole time, and I may have messed some of that up, but those are the ones we heard. If you checked in here in the last moment and I didn't call on you, it's because I missed your check-in altogether. Let me go back and acknowledge these YouTube check-ins, and then we'll continue on with some additional check-ins here. So, Columbus 25, Peter in West Point. Atlanta 95, Lester in Alaj. Dallas 592, Michael in Dallas. Chattanooga 208, Robert in Chattanooga. Atlanta 79, Scott in Covington. Atlanta 927, Connie in Buford. Atlanta 379, Scott in Sandy Creek, New York. Atlanta 192, Faith in Holly Springs. Chattanooga 97, Aaron in Cleveland. Gainesville 58, Jonathan in Oakwood. And a guest check-in from WSFB 816, Daryl in Lynchburg City. Those are the check-ins we have logged so far from YouTube. There may be some more, but that's what we've got. And of course, Atlanta 848, Ernest, 849, Pamela, Noonan 119, Jim, Atlanta 350, Ted, and Dallas 88, Jerry. Those are the check-ins we have at this time. Net Control standing by for additional check-ins from North Georgia GMRS Regional Net. We may as well just do any repeater anywhere. And just go slow. Be careful not to double.
The Chattanooga 260 WSYD 494, I do believe, downtown Dalton, Georgia.
WRXB 256, Atlanta 305, James Indicator, in and out.
This is Atlanta 261, Scott from Holly Springs. If you don't mind, net control, check me in and check me out, but I will be monitoring.
WSGS 735, Noonan 40, in and out.
This is USHN 798, Todd from Grayson, checking in, checking out.
Number 84 and on Zello. Thank you.
Didn't get that one.
All right. That time we heard Chattanooga 260 Colt in Dalton. I've got you marked as in Atlanta 305 James in Decatur. I've got you also marked as in Atlanta 261 Scott in Holly Springs. Scott, I've got you marked as in and out. I have Noonan 40. How do we say that? Do you know how to say that name? I'm going to have Noonan 40 come on and coach me, in because I don't want to get it wrong. I'd like to be able to pronounce the name correctly. I see Orestes. Do you think that's right?
It looks like it.
Noonan 40, would you come back and tell me if I'm even close to pronouncing your name correctly?
This is Noonan 40. You did that. You did a good job. Orestes is my first name. You did a good job.
All right, thank you for that, Orestes. I appreciate that. That's going to be, I think that'll be an easy one to remember just because, well, we don't hear that every day. So that's a unique name. Great to have you along. And we also heard from WS. Now, I think I got the call sign close to right, but I'm not entirely sure. WSNH 798, Todd in Griffin. Todd, did I get it? How far off am I?
You were close. The H in the N is backwards.
Okay, so that was probably just my dyslexia. WSHN 798, Todd in Griffin. Great to have you along tonight, Todd, and appreciate you hanging out. Tonight we're talking about getting friends and family engaged in GMRS radio. So one of the things that's really cool about GMRS, of course we all know this, but nonetheless, I think it's worth a discussion because it's so easy. You know, we get caught up in, I just got my GMRS license and now I'm going to get on the air, and we forget sometimes that there's a lot more to the GMRS license than just you. And the more is your family. Your whole family is qualified to operate under your license. So with that in mind, that's one of the things we want to talk about is getting your family engaged in radio. And so specifically what I want to address is in the Part 95 rules, and I'm looking at the ECFR, Subpart E, 1705, Section C, Subsection 2, it says, any individual who holds an individual license may allow his or her immediate family members to operate his or her GMRS station or stations. Immediate family members are the licensee's spouse, children, grandchildren, stepchildren, parents, grandparents, step-parents, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, and in-laws. So that's the official rule that covers family members in GMRS radio. So it doesn't say they have to live under the same roof. So if you have a family member that lives 2 or 3 miles down the road and you want to be able to reach out to them, even if the phones are down, GMRS is a great way to do that. If you have family members that live a half a state away, if they're within our network coverage area, you can still stay in touch. So that one license, that $35 license that's good for 10 years, can cover 10 people, maybe more. Whatever your family consists of and looks like. For my family, it's really just Julie and I. I do occasionally try to get my in-laws involved and my kids, but they're really resistant to it. And I know that for a lot of spouses, one of the things we hear a lot is that I don't mind the radio, I just don't want to talk on it. So they don't mind hearing the radio. My concern is this, all right? So we have an emergency situation, and you want to be able to communicate with your wife. Maybe you're both going to bug out, and you're going to get in your truck, she's going to get in her car, and you're going to head out on the road, and you're going to someplace in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee, and it's a 2-hour drive, and you'd like to stay in touch on the way, and you don't want to be on the phone. GMRS is great for that, especially in Simplex. But if that's the first time she's used the radio, that could be problematic because she's going to be not as focused on the drive as she ought to be. So I'd like for our family members to be functionally familiar with the equipment and the operation. Now, don't necessarily expect you to coerce your family. I wish that you would, but I understand it probably won't happen. You don't have to coerce your family to come on the Thursday Night Net. However, that would be cool.
It would be.
It would be.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what I really, really want people to do is to just spend some time with family members, make them functionally aware of how to operate the radio. This is where the PTT button is. This is how you change channels. This is the volume. This is how you turn it off. This is how you charge it. That's an important thing to know with an HT. If it's a vehicle-mounted radio, they need to know volume on, off. They need to know channels. They need to know PTT. If they're going to be operating through the repeater network, they need to know about the pause. You need to pause briefly when you key up to let all the repeaters connect. Otherwise, the first part of what they say may be cut off. Now, if you're operating in Simplex, that doesn't matter. The pause is not a thing, but it is on a linked repeater network such as ours. So that's my hope and my goal in all of this, is that our family members and even our kids need to be functionally competent in operating a GMRS radio. So, and you know, from time to time you hear children on the air on this network, and for the most part they perform and they operate very, very well. So it's okay to let our kids get on the air. I don't want to hear, 3 or 4 kids playing hide and seek in the backyard on the network, but I don't really have any objection to them doing that in Simplex. So we can use our radios to make our family and our friends familiar and comfortable, so that when the time comes for them to be able to operate in a crisis, they have that familiarity, and they can be competent in operating because they already have done it and they know what it is and the basics of how it works. Let me break. And of course, we also want to encourage our neighbors and friends to get engaged in radio. That's how I became involved. All right, Atlanta 29. Well, he's not at 291 anymore. Anyway, a buddy of mine insisted. He was very pushy, and I appreciate that. He said, "Hey, man, you got to get your license. Look at all the things that we could do if you had a radio too." And I was there. What do I need a radio for? Why do I even want to do this? And I'll tell you, I got my license mostly to get him to lay off. You know, all right, I'll get the silly license. What's the big deal? So I got the license. I got a radio. I made him program it. He gave the radio back to me already programmed. Back in those days, there was a net on North Georgia GMRS 5 nights a week.
Oh.
It's what the Thursday night net evolved from. So the net control operator at that time was Bill Holliday, great guy. We would stand in the driveway and throw the ball for the dog and listen to the net. And I started checking in on the net. And shortly after I started checking in, Julie asked for the radio, and she started checking in. And a second or third time she checked in, she asked the net control operator, so how do I get your job?
Wow.
That's the last we saw of Bill Holliday. Julie got the job.
Okay.
She became the net control operator.
Very nice.
And we took that role over, and Bill has been very happily disconnected, and he's out there somewhere. He might even be listening. I hope he is, and I hope he's doing well. But in any case, he handed the reins over to Julie, and she has been the net control coordinator for all these years. I've kind of taken on some of that role, but you know, Gary gave that hat to her some time ago. So, and that's our history. That's how we got involved, and that's our family connection. So Julie just took up the interest, and she engaged herself. And that's not what everybody's going to do, but I definitely would like to encourage anyone who's on the fence about this to just go ahead and break that squelch and get on the air.
And, you know, a lot of times people have already used the radios in past jobs. Like, I handed the radio to my mom, and she just knew what to say, but she's a retired school principal. So she walked around school all day with the radio, every day of her career, pretty much. People who work in, you know, hotel management or retail.
Some retail, yeah.
So even, you know, nurses or, you know, pagers back in the day. But
right.
A lot of people have radios for their jobs.
And it's the way that we operate really isn't all that different, except, you know, there's no need for a Roger or an over. It's FM radio. The audio clarity is really, really good. So you can pretty distinctly tell when the transmission ends. We should do that right now. And when a transmission begins. So the use of over and Roger is not really necessary. I don't think it's really harmful. And in some sense, that goes back to that coded language and that amateur radio. I think that Roger and over are pretty minor. But the rest of that stuff we really want to avoid. The technical jargon, the 5x9 nonsense. We just it's not really accurate in FM radio because we don't have S meters. FM doesn't work that way, and it's not really relevant with repeater-based communications because your signal's coming off the repeater. What you hear came from the repeater, not necessarily from that radio. So any signal strength reading that you have is what you're reading the repeater at, not that radio. And if that radio doesn't sound good through the repeater, it's because that radio is struggling to reach the repeater, not because of them trying to reach you. Yeah, completely different game once you get outside of Simplex.
And a lot of times I've heard people doing signal reports, and, you know, one person might be mobile, the other person might be on the base, and the person that's mobile says, yeah, you're a little scratchy or this or that. And I'm sitting at home on the base, and I can hear them just fine. So sometimes it's the person receiving where they're located as well.
That's right. And if you hear everyone a little scratchy and they all sound about the same level of scratchiness, it's probably not them. Yeah. There's a good chance that the receive issue is yours. It's not that they're not making the repeater. It's that you're marginal on receiving the repeater. So you have to understand that element as well when you're giving radio checks. And also, when you ask for a radio check, if you hear somebody say, oh, you sound good, and then somebody else comes on and says, you got a lot of background noise in your signal, you might want to change this, don't change anything. I'm telling you, don't change anything until you've had 4 or 5 days of bad signal reports. Because a lot of times the trouble that you might be having could be atmospheric. It could be the weather. It could be conditions outside of your control. It could be interference from an object or a machine. It could be, there's so many things it could be that you have no control over. And sometimes the way to fix whatever that signal issue is to just transmit at a different time.
Or a different location.
Yeah. So that a lot of times is enough to fix your problem. So if somebody tells you that your radio is not performing excellent, take that under consideration, but don't change anything until you've had multiple reports to that effect, because one person might not hear you very well because he doesn't hear anything very well. And if he gives you a signal report based on the conditions that he's at, that can mislead you. So just be very careful about that. But that's not what we're talking about tonight, though, is it?
Friends and family.
Let's see if let's head to the roster and see if anybody has anything to add to the conversation. Let's see. That's not the right roster. Yeah, do you have it?
It's up here, yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Where did we stop off at, though?
Well, I think we've well, let's just do this. Let's acknowledge this last round, starting at Atlanta 766 Jeff. Go ahead and acknowledge this last round, and then we'll take additional check-ins at the end of the program, like we usually do.
Yeah. So these are our check-ins. We have Atlanta 766 Jeff out of Monroe, Georgia. We have Rome 11 Mark out of Adairsville. We have guest check-in WSGC 594 Gavin. We have Atlanta 355 Damon, and Rome 12 Mark.
All right, and if you didn't get checked in, stick around. We'll have another round of late check-ins just before we close the program. So we'd love to get you on the roster if that's where you want to be. Gary, do we have any comments from the YouTube channel?
No comments. Check-ins, some check-ins, but no comments.
All right. Well, then with that, we'll continue on. Rogers, go ahead to the top of the roster and let's get things underway.
All right. Well, going to the top, we have our first check-in. That's going to be Atlanta 451, Mike. Atlanta 451.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I originally got signed up for North Georgia GMRS as a emergency communication, and the idea was to get my wife involved in case I was at work and we needed to have another way other than cell phones to communicate. We kind of got distracted with life and having children, and she's absolutely interested in getting involved. We haven't pulled the trigger on it yet, so I'll be listening for any creative ways to get family involved, tonight. I think it's really just doing it, just doing some tests and getting them familiar and getting over that microphone, being scared to talk on the microphone. So I'll hand it back to you guys.
You got some comments for him?
Yeah. So I guess one way you asked about how to get her involved. I know you said you wanted to Simplex with work, but sometimes work can be a little tricky, and with timing and everything. But maybe when you're going on a grocery run, you have your HT and your mobile, she's at home, and maybe just try to Simplex with her and see, hey, honey, can you hear me now? And see what your Simplex reach is, just right down the street. And that'll just start to get her comfortable, even just talking, just back to you. So it doesn't have to necessarily be on a repeater. It can just be Simplex back and forth, and just getting her comfortable with coming back to you.
Well, I think that's a great point, and we do often, because we're a repeater group, we think of everything being on a repeater, but the Friday Night at 9 guys have kind of shown us that there's more to GMRS radio than just what we do on the repeater. And so that's a great place to get family engaged and started. Start off in the backyard. Start off, like you say, as a trip to the grocery store. You know, if you've got to run your car over to the shop to have it dropped off for oil changes or whatever, and your wife is going to follow you over there to pick you up, that's a great opportunity to use a couple of radios and Simplex between the vehicles. And I'm going to go ahead and park on the east side of the building instead of the west side of the building, so come over here to pick me up. You know, easy stuff like that. And I think the more of those things that you do, the more natural it'll become. And of course, with the kids, you know, you can send them out across the backyard with an HT, and just ask them to perform some simple tasks. And I think they'll naturally want to respond to you on the radio, and they'll do it poorly, and they'll be clumsy with it, and they'll make a lot of mistakes. But if you're in the world of Simplex, you're not really going to bother anybody. Your Simplex range is small enough that the chances of your signal truly bothering anyone is pretty small. And there may be people that can hear you. There may not be. Depends on a number of things. So Simplex is the key, I think, in getting things started. And definitely encourage you to get your children familiar and comfortable with the radio. And we do have a youth net that I hope will be coming back to the airwaves this fall. So we'd love to have your kids involved in that. And this is a great time. We've got all summer to get them familiar and comfortable with the radio. And, you know, the little ones, they'll pick it up in time. And there's no reason you can't kind of coach them and let them talk to their siblings on the air, especially in Simplex across the backyard. But that's really the best place to start with kids, is right there on the property. See if he's got anything to come back with, and then go on to the next one.
All right, Mike, before we move on, did you have anything else for us tonight?
That's it. That's great advice, guys. I'll absolutely be taking that into account. So, great net. I appreciate the topic and appreciate the advice. You guys have a good evening.
All right, Mike, we appreciate you as well. You have a good one as well. Next up on the list for N, we have Noonan 120, Carmine. Carmine, are you out there? And what do you have for us tonight? Friends and family, getting them involved in GMRS. Noonan 120, Carmine, are you out there? All right, hearing nothing, we will go on to the next person on the list. This is Gainesville 36, Frank. Gainesville 36. All right, we're going to keep moving down the list today. Next up, we have Atlanta 250, Dana, high atop Mount Olympus. How you doing?
Well, good evening, gentlemen.
Justin and Rogers and Gary, and I first want to start off by thanking all three of you for what you do, and including Blue Ridge, Blue Ridge 6-3, who's not present with you. You guys do a great job every single time. Let me break. I don't have much to say about the family part of it, because it is only me up here, and there's nobody to really get involved. But I will reflect just for a few seconds on the upcoming cookout. I just wanted to mention that there will be a directed net on the Monument Repeater hotel. My normal sidekick, Gainesville 58, who will act as a roving reporter. Let me break. And we'll be there for your listening entertainment from about a little bit before 10 to a little after 1 o'clock. And if you have trouble, with directions or have any questions, you can get us on the Monument Repeater. And also, when you do get there, stop by the Vanguard Command Center, and you'll be able to possibly catch some of the people you hear all the time doing nets. Let me break. Doing nets. I mean, net controllers. So put some faces to those voices, and it'll be good to shake your hand as well. And that is what I have. Back to you guys.
Yeah. Very, very good, Dana. Quick question. Do you know if the Monument Repeater has a node?
I would like to be able to answer you, but I am unsure about that. So, yeah, I wish I could.
Comment?
Go ahead, comment.
Setting 260, that's negative on Flagship having a node. How copy?
Well, I know that Flagship has a node. I'm just not sure that Monument does. So, Dana, you may be on the network, and you may not be able to use Monument for the picnic. So we'll have to explore the technical possibilities. Of course, you could use Monument using an HT, but if you want to use Vanguard as your base camp for radio communications, I don't know that Vanguard is capable of talking to Monument in the configuration that it will have at the Flagship picnic. So I think we should probably plan on operating network-wide.
Well, that is fine with me, and like I said, it's going to be a little bit of fun and a lot of open air. So, if somebody does have anything, like directions they need, or maybe they need some help somewhere, we're going to have ears too. So it's not going to be all 100% keyed up entertainment.
Yeah, I think that'll work out just fine, and it'll be much like the directed nets that we've held for Jeep Fest and things of that nature. So if you're in the area and you need some directional assistance, Dana can help you out. If you're out of the area, you're going to have some awareness of things that are going on at Flagship, and maybe that will be the reminder that people need to, oh yeah, that's this weekend. I need to head that way. So we'll just plan on having it on the network, and we'll go from there. All right then. 2 meter. You do a 2 meter net on Friday nights as well?
Well, yes, sir. A while back, we expanded the Friday Night at 9 Challenge banner to include the amateur bands, and that is the 2-meter band, hosted by, again, my faithful compadre in crime, Jonathan Gainesville 58 and Rome 12, Mr. Mark Avery. They both do an excellent job, and I'm just there to irritate folks and to participate in the challenge itself. So it is only for amateur licensed individuals, of course, because it is on the amateur bands. And let me break. Got to watch that timer. So if you are licensed for, whether you got your tech or above, feel free to pop on over to the N4 KHQ repeater. Have a little bit of fun, because you need to know Simplex on the amateur side just like you need to know Simplex on the GMRS side. So, yeah, we have a little bit of fun over there. Back to you guys.
Justin, we had some Simplex chat on the YouTube chat tonight.
Okay.
Talking about Simplex. Let's see. Mitch said he used Simplex with the family when he was in Montana and had some close time with some bison. There's probably a lot more to that story, but he used it in Montana to keep up with the family. Richard had a comment that his wife wasn't interested in the testing for ham, and he was able to interest her with Simplex when they hike. So if they separate, they have radios and they stay in contact via Simplex. So some chat on the YouTube stream tonight.
Very good. And we definitely would encourage the comments on YouTube. So anybody else that has anything they'd like to chime in there. I'm curious, though, the bison. What channel do the bison operate on?
I'm not sure.
Well, in any case, I've been to the Dakotas as a kid, and I've got some family out that way, and some amazing memories and amazing experiences. So stuff that I'll hold on to forever. But being out in the prairie and seeing a herd of buffalo move across the ground is something that it's an experience that cannot be accurately described. It's a sensory experience because you see, you hear, you feel, and you smell, and all of that is going on, and it's phenomenal. So when I don't even know how many animals were involved. It was many, many hundreds. It was just a phenomenal thing to see. And we were half a mile away. You can still feel the ground shake. Wow. It was just, and they weren't running, they were just moving. It was phenomenal. Just a huge mass of animal moving, and they weren't marching in unison, but they had a grace about them that, like I say, I was a small kid, and it's something that it's just a sensory experience that will stick with you forever. So the bison would be a very cool thing to see, and I definitely would consider another trip out that way. I'd see who's still alive with family out that way, because I'm not even. I would have to do a little bit of genealogical research to figure out who's who up there. But
that would be a nice trip, though.
It would be. It would be a lot of fun. I wonder if I'll ever have time for it.
Make time.
Yeah,
Make it.
That's right.
Maybe we'll hear back. Maybe we'll hear back from Mitch, and he can expand on his bison experience.
That'd be great. That'd be great. We had somebody. It was it David that was packing, and he was talking about his cat. I'd love to see some pictures on Facebook of the cat. So David, if I have to get back to the log so I can remember what that conversation was. But the saber cat, yeah, he was headed to North Carolina That was Atlanta 317. So, David, if you could post some pictures on Facebook, that'd be great. All right. Where are we at, Rogers?
Next on our list, we are at, I believe, Atlanta 1126. Or did we just stop from there?
No, we just talked with Dana, so 1126, I think, is correct.
Joseph in Snellville. What do you have for us?
Yeah, I wonder if we timed out. Atlanta 1126, Joseph in Snellville. Do you have any comments for the net tonight? All right, let's move on.
Yeah. All right. Moving right along, we have Chattanooga 139, Robert out of Ringgold. Are you in with us tonight? It's not 9 o'clock yet. All right, moving right along, that brings us to Atlanta 1150, Tony in Canton. Tony, are you out there? Atlanta 1150, Tony out of Canton. Are you there? Nope.
We are getting out.
All right. Well, that brings us to Dallas 20. David, Dallas 20.
Good evening, guys. Yeah, friends and family. You know, so we've been in North Georgia GMRS for over 3 years, and I'll tell you, we've acquired some friends that I now call family, just through the network. It's been an amazing trip going through with everybody. You know, we go camping together, cookouts together. It's absolutely amazing. And talking about the family part, you know, the beauty of GMRS, where my license covers my entire family, it allows for my mom to get on the radio when that would never happen. Lisa, the same thing. And now here we are running the rabbit hole net. And before, I heard the other gentleman talking about getting his wife to talk on the radio. Lisa was the same way, and now she's running a net. One thing I found to help her out, to get her involved in the beginning, was when we went trail riding, I'd let her talk to the other people on the road or on the property. Have a radio, I'm going to go work in the yard, and I'd call her periodically, you know, just to get her used to pushing the button. And then she would hear conversations on the air, and I'm like, well, do you want to say something? You know, just get them involved in small portions like that really helps out. Now, let me reset. You know, and the same with the family. I know Justin was talking about making sure the family knows how to operate radios. Well, for Mom, even before Mom's time, we had set radios out and told her, I said, listen, you turn this on, it's automatically on the repeater you need to talk to. If it doesn't work, go to Flagship, because that's our backup here. And I said, you don't have to get the numbers right. If you need something, you say what you need to say, and we'll clear all that up later on. But, you just call out, hey, does anyone know David? Somebody call him, I need something, or whatever. And that's what it's about, And there's enough people out here that we all know each other. So North Georgia GMRS has been a gateway for a lot of friends and gatherings and good times, and we're another one of those in a week coming up. So, but yeah, get your families involved, teach them how to use the radios, start small, Simplex, use on the yards. That's where you need it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, it's just like I said earlier, just putting a radio in someone's hand and, you may be a few 100 feet away or you may be out on the property just doing things. And, and this is the thing. People love to talk. Everyone has a cell phone. We all talk to our friends and family every day, anyway. So, that's why I love radio. It's just another means of communication, but it can come in handy. So yeah, great stuff. Great stuff, David.
Well, I think too, it like David says, start small. And, if it's not practical to get out in the backyard, maybe it's in the garage or maybe it's in the basement. And, your spouse is at the other end of the house or maybe in the next room. Start small and come up with reasons to engage on the air. And, hey, when you're done with this, just call me on the radio. I'll come and help you with the next thing or whatever it might be. Just find little opportunities and put them into play. And I think that in time, those things will become more and more natural. And if you have to be in a vehicle and drive someplace separately, that's a great opportunity to hand your spouse a radio and say, here, I want you to use this and be listening for. And, that's also your opportunity to pose some information that maybe will prompt a question. Enough information that more is needed. So what did you mean by that? And then now you've got her keying up the radio, and that's the first step. So lots of opportunities. We just have to think about excuses to get the radio involved. And David, I think you might appreciate the comment from Atlanta 60 says that he started small and now look what he's created.
Yes, sir. And no new repeaters this year. Maybe.
That's right. No new repeaters other than the new repeaters that we put up. So that's good stuff. All right, David, thank you very much. And I've got to ask, because our notes were a bit of a scramble, when is the next rabbit hole, and do you know what the topic is going to be?
The next rabbit hole is actually the Sunday after the cookout. So what we don't know exactly what it's going to be, but it's going to be along the lines of more of the food preservation. We'll post something here shortly about it. We're trying to figure that out, whether it be canning or I'll dive into a little bit more details about the canning or dehydrating, but we feel like we need to keep the food preservation conversation up and running. So, but it's the Sunday after the cookout.
Very good. The Sunday after, well, I guess that's a dangerous thing to say. And the reason I say that is, we're looking at the extended weather forecast, and there is some concern for maybe pushing the picnic to the following Saturday. So April 27, I believe, is the date that you're referring to for the next rabbit hole. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct. It would be April 27.
All right, and we'll be talking about a little deeper dive into food preservation. I really like the conversation from the other night, and I think it's so important that we consider the value of preparing our own foods for storage, because the ability to control the ingredients is truly huge. And like we talked about the other night, when you look at the ingredients on a typical package from the supermarket, there are so many things on there that you can't pronounce. But if you pick up some pork or some beef and some potatoes and some carrots, and you prepare that food, and then you package and can and preserve that food, you know how much sodium you put in there. You know what other ingredients were put in there. You know how much MSG you did or did not put in there. So these are things that you have control over, and the end result is, I think, that you can have much safer and much higher quality food for your preserved cache of whatever that's going to be, whether you're going to have a few weeks worth of food or a larger supply. Having quality food is entirely up to you. So great stuff, great conversation, and I look forward to the next rabbit hole and expanding on some of that, whatever direction that might take. Thank you very much, David. With that, Rogers, who's next?
Well, we have another David.
Double Davids?
Yeah. Atlanta 317. David out of Sandy Springs.
So he said he was going to be in and out, but I marked him as in because and he gave us some more information about packing, and we learned about the Saber Cat. So 16 pounds of co-driver is what I think I heard. Does he do any of the driving, or do you have to do all of that, David? Well, he did say that he was in and out, so maybe he finished packing, and he's on the road. So
safe travels.
Yes,
or the cat had dinner. David, we wish you best, David. We wish you the best.
Absolutely. All right, who's next, Rogers?
Next we have Atlanta 849, Pamela out of Duluth.
Well, I think Pamela is a perfect example of family involvement in radio. Ernest came on the air, I don't know, a couple years ago, I guess. And shortly thereafter, we started hearing Pamela on a regular basis. And now we hardly ever hear Ernest. So, Pamela, tell us about your engagement, your family engagement in radio. What got you started on the air? And what would you recommend for others in terms of getting their spouses on the air?
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for that introduction. My voice may sound a little different tonight because I'm still dealing with the allergies and bronchitis, so please overlook that. And that's why I came on kind of strange tonight. I think I missed the button in my voice that I didn't get together. Well, I got to listening to all these people and guys talking on the radio, and the stories they were telling and the subjects they were talking about, I was just, I was intrigued. You just caught my interest, and I kept saying, should I say something? Can I say something? And he's like, well, okay, if you want to. He gave it to me, and I had to get used to holding the button down to talk. When you're talking on the phone, you don't have to hold the button down and talk. You just talk. But, yeah, he seems to be busy a lot doing household chores and outdoor chores, and seems to be keeping himself busy. And, of course, you know, he's now a general on the amateur side, so he's busy with that sometimes also. Let me break. But I was thinking about, like, Lisa, how she got started and wanted to talk and to people and meet people and started. And I think it's neat how she just took somebody else's spot and wonder what in the world that person, I think he said Bill Holiday, is doing now. Hopefully he is listening. Let me break. You got any questions for me while I think a moment?
No, I think that in general we're just interested in, you know, the family aspect of. It's one of the things that's very, very unique about GMRS radio. All right, so in amateur radio, you know, Ernest is he's an amateur general. Julie is an amateur general, but Julie has a different license for her amateur license than mine. We're both radio amateurs, but her license is a separate license than mine. She had to acquire that license on her own, and she had to study. She had to work for that. And same with me. My license is my own license, and that license covers me to talk on the amateur bands, and me only. Now, I can be the control operator for somebody, but that means that I have to be in control of the radio that person is using. So for Julie to be able to use a radio across the yard and talk to me, she has to have her own license. Conveniently, she does, but before that, in GMRS, she didn't. We both had a GMRS license, and we were both able to operate the radios under that one license. And so that's what's unique about GMRS, and that's why I so adamantly encourage folks to take advantage of that opportunity to get your spouse, get your family members, get whoever you can involved in GMRS radio, because it's a game changer in terms of communications. And you can get family members engaged in radio who otherwise wouldn't. All right. So, for instance, if you have a spouse that won't study for the test for whatever reason, too busy, it's too confusing, it's too much, it's whatever it might be. If that person won't study for the test, they won't study. That's one and done. They're not going to become an amateur. All right. But in GMRS, none of that matters. They don't have to study. They don't have to go through the process of testing. They don't have to figure out the FRN or the FCC cores or any of that nonsense. Once you've done that with your GMRS license, your spouse is covered, and the hard part is done. Now there's no excuses left other than I don't want to. And that's a big one. And if they don't want to be on the radio, you got to find a way around that and find a reason to ask them to be on the radio. And Simplex, I think, is the great tool for that. But in your case, Pamela, I understand that you have been looking at studying to become a technician so that you and Ernest can engage in amateur radio in addition to GMRS. I think that's fantastic. So look forward to hearing of your success in that regard. Do you have any plans on when you're going to take the test?
No, not at this time. Just seems like things have come up and I just haven't been able to focus on it lately. But anyway, I was going to say, as far as family, I do have a cousin that's way over there in Washington State. I guess I need to work on him and his family. He used to be a CB operator back in the day and when they lived in the Georgia area. And so I need to work on him. And I do have some cousins up in Kentucky. I guess I just need to push them to get on because I think they'd really enjoy listening at least to what's going on. And, yeah, my family, let me break, it's kind of spread out other than that. And GMRS is what I kind of consider a good bit of my family, and I talk about it every time I'm out. I don't miss an opportunity to tell people what's going on. And I do have a potential person that's hopefully it's a picnic, and hope that his family will be interested and they can join with us, because his son, I think, would probably enjoy this. So anyway, I'll put it back to y'all, and I've enjoyed it. Oh, I'm sorry. I have one comment about what you talked about earlier before we started. Can I say something about that?
That's kind of cryptic. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm glad you covered the subject about, one, how to describe how you hear someone, the terms, because I like to just be straightforward, and I have to remember what these terms mean that I hear and try to understand. So, yes, I do like the straightforward, honest approach up front. I like that, and what different words we should say and not say. I'm glad you went back over that. That was very good. Even though Julie could not be here for our tips, I think you did very well. So I will send it back to you, and I appreciate the time. Y'all doing a great job.
Well, thank you, Pamela. And the goal here is we want this to not be intimidating. We want this to not be challenging. We want this to be open and friendly and inclusive, and all those warm and fuzzy words, because that this really is. It's meant to be a family. It's an extension of FRS, right? Family Radio Service. GMRS and FRS share some frequencies for a reason, and and we've always encouraged family participation with North Georgia GMRS, and I think that it's important that we be sensitive to some of the concerns that we've heard over the years from spouses that don't come on the air. And one of those things that we hear the most is, I don't know the jargon. I don't understand what I'm supposed to say. And that kills me, because I don't want people to feel like you have to know any jargon. You don't have to know the right thing to say or the word. Once you've figured out how to say your call sign, that should be the most difficult thing that you have to learn to come on the air. And, if somebody has to say it for you, I think that's okay. I think that it's perfectly fine if we identify with an FCC call sign and then hand the radio to our kids to talk on the air. You're a control operator at that part. In an amateur radio, that's perfectly legitimate. So the same thing is relevant in GMRS radio. I don't want anybody to feel like they can't come on the air because they don't know the right words and the right lingo. And so when I hear things like your signal is 5x9, I don't even know what that means in GMRS radio, because this is FM radio. We don't have an S meter. There is no scale of 9 to qualify your signal strength with in GMRS radio. So say what it is. Your signal is loud and clear. And if it's not loud and clear, say your signal is readable. And if it's not readable, say, I hear you, but it's all static and noise to me. I can't figure out what you're saying. Just plain language, I think, is what's important. And we talk about that often, and I think it's very important that we keep things simple and very clear. This is, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but this is entry level to a radio. This is where so many people start out. And I want this to be an easy access platform for anybody, especially our spouses and our kids, to be able to come on the air and engage in this. Because, the communication skill that our kids can pick up from talking to strangers on radio is huge. And that can be the thing that empowers them to be able to have conversations in classroom environments, and be able to speak in front of people, and be able to have confidence in their communication skills. I think that can come from being engaged in radio communications. So I think there's a lot of value that we can give to our kids in terms of developing their person, and I would like to see us take more advantage of that as a group of people. So good stuff, Pamela. Thank you for your engagement tonight. And with that, who's next?
Next, we have Noonan 119. Jim. And all of these next ones are in?
They were maybe. All right, no response from Noonan 119. And this group of check-ins right here is when I was trying to play catch-up. And so there may be some in and outs that were called that I just missed. But we've got Atlanta 350 Ted in Tucker. Ted, were you in and out, or did you have any comments for the net? No answer means no comment. Go ahead and pick up the next one and do the same thing.
Who was that? Jim? That you just called?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Next we have Atlanta 350. Ted in Tucker. Ted, are you in with us tonight?
I think I just called on. Did I call on Ted? I don't know.
Or was it Jim? I think I called Jim. You called Ted. Okay, now we're at.
Let's just move right on to
now we're at Jerry.
Jerry, yeah.
All right. Next we have Dallas 88. Jerry, out of Dallas, Georgia. Jerry, are you in with us tonight? All right, moving on. All right, moving right along, we have Chattanooga 260 Colt out of Dalton, Georgia.
Oh, come on, Colt, you have to be in because I broke the in and out thing on your line. Come on, Colt.
Well,
all right. Colt's in and out.
All right, Colt, we will show you as in and out. Next, we have Atlanta 305, James. Atlanta 305. James, are you in with us tonight?
Fixed it.
Yeah. And
all right.
And then here's your friend, Noonan 40.
You think you can say his name?
Orestes?
Orestes.
That's how I said it.
Orestes.
All right. All right. Next, we have Noonan 40, Orestes. Orestes, are you in with us tonight?
Yeah, I'm sitting right here on the side. This is Noonan 40.
All right. Go ahead. Do you have anything for us tonight as far as getting your friends and family involved in radio and GMRS?
I was interested if I have a FCC license and a TAC number, and I'm sitting here at home on my base unit, and say my wife was out, I also have a mobile unit, and she was out on the road, and she needed some assistance, or needed to get in touch with me. Can she legally use the repeater and try to contact me?
So I think your question is kind of along the lines of, do I have to have two TAC numbers for me and my spouse to be able to use the radio? So my answer to that would be, if you're on Simplex and you're not on the repeater network, then she is perfectly legal to talk as much as you guys are able to make that work out. But that Simplex is a limited range. Even if you're on a base radio and you have a mobile radio, you're still limited in range. Probably not as limited as you would be with a pair of HTs, but you're not going to have the kind of range you can get out of a repeater system. So I would offer this: if she's going to be a regular participant, a regular user of the network, then I would hope that you would support the network by upgrading your membership to include a TAC number for her. But if it's going to be that she calls one night because it's raining and she has a flat tire and she needs you to come and help her get the car back up and running, no one is going to object to her making a call on the network to ask for help in a situation like that. And even if it's not as dire as that, if she just comes on the radio to make a call out because she has a question or there's some concern, whatever, it doesn't have to be a crisis situation like a flat tire in the rain. Whatever the case may be, she's welcome to use the network periodically as a guest with a valid FCC call sign. Which, if you have a valid call sign, then obviously so does she. So if she becomes a regular participant in traffic and is engaged in conversations, regularly, then that's the point at which we want you to get her her own TAC number and upgrade the membership to cover that extra usage. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. It sure does, and I appreciate you getting back with me on that and clarifying that situation with me. And I thank you for that. Unit 40, sitting on the side.
All right, Noonan 40. And I got to ask you, is her name easier to say than yours?
My wife's name is Lynn.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely easier. But in any case, I'm glad to have you along tonight. And thanks for checking into the net. And look forward to hearing you and Lynn on the air as we go. So great stuff. Any other questions or comments?
If you're talking to Unit 40, no, I'm clear, and I appreciate you getting back with me. Thank you.
All right, very good. We have a guest check-in from WSHN 798 Todd in Griffin. Todd, do you have any questions or comments for the net tonight? All right, we'll show Todd as in and out and keep... Oh, that's the end of it. All right.
I added there's some additional YouTube check-ins that we need to get to as well.
All right. All right, not hearing anything from Todd. We're going to continue on. I've got some YouTube check-ins here I'd like to go ahead and add to our roster. We have Atlanta 766 Jeff in Monroe. We have Rome 11 Mark in Adairsville. We have WSGC 594 Gavin in Demarest. 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 I'm going to go with that. We have Atlanta 355 Damon. It seems like I've already acknowledged some of these. Damon in Canton. Rome 12 Mark in Rome. We have WRQA, I think I know why, 561 Monty in Hartsfield is a YouTube check-in. Atlanta 964 Richard in Duluth. Atlanta 420 William in Roswell. WRWY 456 Dave in Rogerville. That's Rogerville, Missouri. Dave's been fairly regular here lately. Glad to see you along again tonight. That would be the Hillbilly Ham. What's his ham call? Does he? Let's see if he comments his ham call. If he's going to be the Hillbilly Ham, we need to know what the call sign is, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's fair.
yeah.
That's fair.
All right. And we have Mr. Tim listening via YouTube from Kentucky. Glad to have you in the roster as well. So thank you for that. That is the end of the roster. So at this time, we're going to take one round of additional check-ins and any late
Comments?
What am I trying to say
Any
here?
comments?
Any questions or
Yeah.
comments and any additional late check-ins? I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Is that about right?
That sounds right.
All right. Something like that. You all know what to do. Net control standing by.
Net control. This is WRQ G806, Atlanta 557, checking in and out. Ed in Kennesaw, and by way of relay, Atlanta 558, Denise in Kennesaw, also in and out.
Night control. Night control. This is Gainesville 76, WRUH 751. John in Gainesville, checking in and checking out. Have a good evening.
Net control, Comet, Atlanta 849.
All right, let me go ahead and acknowledge Atlanta 557, Ed in Kennesaw, in with us tonight, as well as Atlanta 558, Denise. That's not what it says, but thank you, Denise, for hanging out with us tonight. We've got you in and out. Also, we've got Gainesville 76, John in Gainesville is in and out. And it looks like we have another YouTube check-in from WRWZ961 Edwin. And Edwin is in Rochester.
Yeah, Rochester misspelled that probably.
That's close enough for... Oh, yeah, I see it. Thank you.
He's in Rochester.
Rochester.
Ah.
Well, thank you for your check-in tonight, Ed. Glad to have you hanging out with us on YouTube. And a comment from Atlanta 849. Before we go to Pamela, let me get Atlanta 557, Ed in Kennesaw. Ed, I'm not sure if you were in and out or not, but first I'd like to ask you if you have any questions or comments about family involvement, friends and neighbors, etc. And then I'm going to ask you about the meet and geek. But let's talk about family involvement first, Ed. Atlanta 557, are you able to come back to the radio? All right, no response from Atlanta 557. We're going to go ahead and show him as in and out. I was hoping to talk to him a little bit more about the meet and geek coming up. But I guess what you heard from me at the beginning of the show is the best you're going to get. Unless you want to go to last week's YouTube episode and listen to the announcements there when Mike did it the right way. So you might want to do that if you really want to know about the Meet and Geek. Or tune in next week when hopefully Mike will be back to do the announcements again. And we'll learn more about the coming Meet and Geek event where... programming radios will be on the menu. Okay, and also, well, we've already gone through the roster, so I guess that brings us to the comment from Pamela. Pamela, go ahead with your comment.
Well, thank you again. It's been a very interesting net, hearing all the different stories. Mine has to do with the two gentlemen with their wives, okay? The first person you spoke with was Mike, and I believe you said his wife's name was Joan, if I heard that right. And I missed his call sign. So in just a minute, I wanted to get that from you. But also, Noonan 40, Arestus. I think I have that right. And I believe he said his wife's name was Lynn. And I wanted to encourage the two of them to listen in to the Ladies Net. Just come in and say hello, who you are, and listen in. And we'd love to have you chat with us. But if you can't, that's fine. But just listen, just kind of get used to hearing us, and we'd enjoy having you. So I will let you tell me what that call sign was that I missed. And thank you for the net. It was great.
Call sign that you missed. Do you know what call signs you might be talking about?
Was she saying for Arestus?
No, for I think she mentioned a lady's name, and I don't remember hearing a lady's name, so I'm not quite sure which call sign she wants to hear. Pamela, if you want to go back through the YouTube video, you'll be able to see the roster and the call signs. If you just pull up the YouTube video, and you can kind of scan forward and back through it to see, you'll be able to see everything that's in the roster. You just see bits and pieces of it at a time. So you should be able to get the call sign you're looking for, because I'm not clear on who you're looking for, and I don't want to give out the wrong information. So with that, I need to find this page. And I'm going to say this concludes the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net. Rogers, how many check-ins do we have tonight?
Looks like we have about 74.
74. Did we read them all, or was the one coming in late? Got them all?
I think we got them all.
All right. If we missed you in YouTube or anywhere else, I hate that we missed you, but our regular log guy is not here tonight, and it definitely is a lot harder to do than it looks. So be patient with us. I hope that you'll check in next week, and hopefully Mike will be back. But hats off to Free Salad for the work that he does. He sure is missed when he's not here. So very good stuff. 74. Chickens, including myself. Net Control will now be returning the repeaters back to normal use. Everyone who signed in should sign out. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember, comments on the YouTube video shows engagement with the video and helps our channel to grow. Next week, we will be talking about... Do you know what we're talking about next week? Who knows what we're talking about next week?
Something fun and exciting, and something that we can all engage in.
So, all right. So the next net on the schedule is... It's the tech series. Now, the tech series was originally scheduled for May 1st, and it may end up there. I'm not entirely sure. So what's going to happen is this, all right? When we have the picnic, Vanguard's going to get mobilized, and it's going to go up onto the mountain for tours. You can come in and you can check out the Vanguard studio that we're operating in right now. You can see some of the equipment that we use. The teleprompter will be there. The video switchgear will be there. You'll be able to get a feel for what it's like to operate in Vanguard while you're there. And we'll have some people here who can answer questions and hopefully inspire you to start your own YouTube adventures as well. So Vanguard's going to be up there. When we bring Vanguard back to Woodstock, Vanguard's not going to get parked in its usual spot right away. We're going to do some maintenance and some cleanup. And so... The Thursday after the picnic, there will not be a net. That'll be a kind of a maintenance cleanup day, time for us to get Vanguard back in situation and where it needs to be. So we're going to skip a week. I don't know exactly what week that's going to be because we're concerned about this weather on the long-term outlook. Right now we're planning on having the picnic on the 26th, which means the May 1st net is the one that we skip. However, if we push the picnic back, we're also going to push our skip week back. So right now, our scheduled topic for next week is the tech series that would have been for May 1st. And so we're going to talk about PL tones, CTCSS tones, DCS tones, what they do and what they don't do. So if you have any questions about tones, what does all that mean? What do you have to program tones into your radio? If you're listening to us, if you're brand new and you've scanned through and you hear us and you've never programmed any tones into your radio, next week will be a great opportunity to learn what the tones are and why you need them, and how you can get them into your radio. You'll have to get the manual out. All right.
Yeah, you gotta read through that one.
Yeah. Well, I guess you don't actually have to do that. There are some shortcuts. So, like for instance, you could go to the Meet and Geek, and that would be a great way to get your radio programmed with the correct tones. If you don't understand the concept of tones, it'll help you out, and you'll be in good shape if you do that. So, but tune in next week when we talk about PL tones. It's all kind of under the umbrella of that generic term of PL, private line.
Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no privacy. There's no privacy in radio.
And we'll get the word out on the barbecue. If we do have to move the barbecue, we'll let you know early. We'll communicate that and let you know if we do have to shift it due to weather.
Yeah. So keep an ear open and keep an eye on the Facebook page. Those on the air and on Facebook are the two places first to learn about any changes to the picnic. But for the time being, we're planning on the 26th. So with that in mind, next week's topic will be another tech series topic. The tech series are usually the first episode of the month, but because of things, it's going to be the last one of this month. So let me bounce back to my script and finish that up. It says tune in next week. And it even says tech series. All right, so I guess I edited that and I forgot. Thank you for allowing us to serve as your net control this evening. Good night, everyone. This is Atlanta 946 WQIR 514. My name is Justin.
And this is WSAL 368 Atlanta 263. My name is Rogers.
And this is WRUB 711 Atlanta 519. My name is Gary.
We are North Georgia GMRS Network, and we are clear. Good night, everyone.
Good night.